Good morning. Welcome to Market Monday for April 8th, 2024. Today we'll take a slight detour from our normally scheduled broadcast to remember and celebrate the life of Daniel Kahneman, who passed away on March 27th at the age of 90.
Daniel Kahneman was an author and psychologist focusing on judgment and decision-making, later combining these fields with economics to essentially create the discipline of behavioral economics, the findings of which earned him a Nobel Prize in 2002.
His insight that earned him the Nobel Prize was his claim that, contrary to what the textbooks previously taught, humans are actually irrational. We're not utility maximizing economic robots. It was the acceptance of this idea that opened the floodgates of behavioral economics.
So much of the philosophy and mindset underpinning the principles we believe in at Market Monday are directly attributable to Kahneman. His most famous book, published in 2011, Thinking Fast and Slow, was particularly impactful, overflowing with insights. Here are a few of our favorites.
The main premise of Thinking Fast and Slow is that our brain uses two different systems. System one is fast, intuitive, and automatic. While useful in some cases, System one is also prone to biases and errors. System two is slow, analytical, and deliberate. System two is necessary for complex tasks that require focusing and attention.
Have you heard that people fear losing money more than they seek to gain? We hear it all the time. This is Kahneman's prospect theory, finding that people feel losses twice as hard as gains. To demonstrate, would you take a simple coin flip bet where you stood to win $100 or lose $50? Turns out most people would not. Though from a pure odds perspective, theoretically, you should take that bet.
Next up, the availability heuristic, one of our favorites. The availability heuristic is a cognitive bias where you judge the likelihood of an event based on how easily it comes to mind. Remember the global financial crisis? How about 1970s inflation? Why are these rare and unique episodes so quickly called upon for comparison? How about that one time your neighbor down the street lost everything in that one stock? Do you think that experience has an outsized effect on what you think will happen? If you're human, you betcha.
The sunk cost fallacy. The sunk cost fallacy appears when you keep investing in something even if it's not worth it, simply because you've already invested resources into it. Could be finishing a boring movie because you already paid for the ticket. Could also be holding on to a position with a loss, holding on to it until it becomes a winner, so that we can prove to ourselves that we were right. Instead, we should always evaluate the current value of an asset and its merits going forward without much regard for what's happened in the past.
Confirmation bias. Humans tend to seek out information that confirms their existing beliefs and ignores information that contradicts it. Another version of this we discuss internally has to do with seeing the bullish or bearish case for various circumstances. We're trying to have a neutral posture, and while we admittedly prefer the bullish case, we attempt to measure that preference and try to consider both sides of the ledger.
Hindsight bias. We love this one. This is the tendency after an event has occurred to believe that one would have predicted or expected the outcome. You knew which team was going to win the game. You knew a recession was going to come. You knew the market was going to go down. This is so tough because at any given moment, there are hundreds or thousands of potential outcomes for a particular situation. In hindsight, only one of them actually happened. So it seems obvious that result was the only one it could have possibly been.
Spending a bit more time here, especially now that the market has rallied over the last year or so, it seems so obvious that would happen. And naturally, some folks wish they had increased the risk or equity exposure. But that's only true with hindsight. For when we were in the throes of the bear market, nobody wished they had more equity exposure. Understanding hindsight bias helps us remember our portfolio objectives and how we always need to have an eye on managing risk, even when it's tempting to look at the very recent past.
There are so many more examples of Kahneman's work in our daily lives. We are grateful for his contributions to our collective consciousness and for helping us serve you better. Have a great week.